It's a beautiful spring day for hang gliding at Mount Diablo, one of the highest mountains in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. The forecast is for high top of lift and light winds, and the cycles are coming in nicely at launch. And I take off at 2 pm. This is one of the steepest and shortest slopes I've launched off, and many pilots don't even want to try it. But it's not that bad. Since I have flown here so many times, my glider knows where the house thermal is at Ransom Point, the rocky outcrop named after one of the first surveyors of the mountain. The thermal tracks up the spine to the summit of the mountain. I notice several people on the visitor center roof looking and waving at me, so I wave back. If I was in their place, I would be extremely envious of me. I lose the thermal, but a few minutes later it condenses to a solid column, taking me up past 5,500 feet. I have to resist the temptation to leave for an XC flight towards Los Vaqueros Reservoir to the southeast. But today we are limited by our driver who wants us to land at the designated landing zone to the north. So I use my altitude to fly northeast past North Peak, the unimaginatively named lower peak of Mount Diablo. The grassy hills further north are part of Black Diamond Mines Regional Preserve, named after the historic coal mines that operated here for 2 centuries. Just a little south is the Marsh Creek Detention Facility. Beyond the Central Valley to the east, I can see the snow-capped high mountains of the Sierra Nevada, more than 100 miles away. Not wanting to get back to the mountain too low, I turn back at 5,000 feet and face the headwind. I manage to reach the lower peak of Mount Olympia and climb back up to 5,000. I am excited to see the first cloud of the day forming right over launch, and it looks to be higher than 6,000 feet. Pulling full speed, I rush to get under it and enter a large and fun thermal. It takes me a couple hundred feet below the cloud. The hard inversion layer on the eastern horizon is just above the cloud, and it is killing the lift already. It explains why the cloud has little vertical development. I'm getting chilly at 6,800 feet, so I look for the only other glider flying today, find it, and go north towards it. And following the high western ridge pilots call Juniper Ridge, I enjoy views of the cities around Walnut Creek and the San Francisco Bay Area. I can even see the Golden Gate Channel in the distance. Spotting the other pilot over Eagle Peak, I join her in another thermal. Looking down at Mitchell Canyon below reminds me of the many times I've gone bird watching there in the spring in years past. The view of the mountain from this perspective is glorious. The low ridge between the two peaks, called Prospector's Gap, is noticeable. It's getting late, so I start thinking about landing. To lose altitude, I fly north over the low hills and find some pleasant evening lift. I watch my friend land safely while I'm still at 2,000 feet, so I decide to make my way down. Gliding high over the city of Clayton, glowing in the evening light, is a hard-earned reward. I decide to fly over the quarries at Mount Zion. Now operated by Cemex, these quarries have been in use for over 70 years and produce rocks and minerals. The company recently announced a donation of 100 acres of its undeveloped land to the state park. The evening buoyancy is making it hard to lose altitude, so I spiral my way down near the LZ. Without realizing, I put myself too far downwind to the LZ and encounter a lot of sink on my final approach, which puts me into the ditch before the main LZ. A last second correction puts me down safely, but it could have been worse. The lesson here is to box the field tighter, especially when there are obstacles or ditches downwind. This was an amazing flight. Looking forward to the next one.